And welcome everyone to week number 5, day 1 of the Oceanic Pro League. My name is Julian Pastry Tamkar. Joining with me is Jake Spawn Tiberi. And last week's Spawn was absolutely insane as far as matches go. So this week, as we really hit up towards playoffs, probably nothing short of.
Yeah, exactly right. The teams are just so close in the middle of the packs. 3 people tied for second, then another 2 down there afterwards. And, you know, there's a big gap between the Chiefs and Sudden Fear, but everything in between is super close.
It is indeed. And let's have a look at today's schedule here as we look through the first half of this particular week. As you can see, Avant versus Absolute to kick things off, and then the Chiefs take on Sudden Fear.
Yeah, and to round us out, it'll be Immunity taking on the Direwolves and Sin against Legacy.
And again, pretty insane matchups. That's tie, as you mentioned there, for second place. Lots of those teams are playing today, so we'll start to separate them as we move towards playoffs.
Yeah, and we have the big discrepancy for Game 2, so we'll have to see whether Sudden Fear can come up with the upset, but every other team is searching for those wins because it really is coming down to the wire.
Yeah, it really is. If you guys want to catch up on a little bit more, maybe check out some of the old games or just the schedule, head on down to the website, use the hashtag IamOPL and get on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly right. And if you want to find any more information, stats, some of the videos, go over to the website, oce.lolesports.com.
Nailed it. And as we move through, of course, massive day here. Lots of matches coming through. And I think the first one's interesting because Absolute still climbing up, can make a late charge towards playoffs, but more than anything else, they can just cause an upset here and really disrupt the top half.
Yeah, and it'll be the second upset in the row for them because they were able to take down Avant last time they played. And a lot of it to do with their draft. We actually have a graphic to come up about exactly what they were able to secure. But through the pick ban phase, Absolute definitely started to make ripples.
They did. They had a fantastic draft all the way through, and it's really been the point of their strategy that's looked so strong, honestly. Again, a team that's sort of coming up, lots of strong solo queue players, mechanically very excellent, but haven't quite put it together until recently, where their drafts have looked fantastic.
Yeah, they certainly did. So if we do jump into the draft, it was Avant. They picked up this pit comp that they were hoping to run the Ash, and we talked about it a lot last week, but on the top side of it, you see exactly what Absolute were able to nab themselves. They got the Azir. Then they transitioned it into a Nunu and Callista, and from there, it was just too much of a court. They surrounded it with strong, peeling champions, able to get them safe, even if the pick ever did come through. And honestly, the persistent damage was just too much.
It was, and I mean, just at a basic level, what is about this core that's so strong, Spawn?
Yeah, so the core itself is that they both go off attack speed. So Nunu has 2 great blood boiling champions, meaning if you ever get some ranks into it, some CDR coming through, you can actually get them both going at the same time. Callista, very hard to pin down. Azir supplements that with the Emperor's Divide that can come through. And then talk about damage mitigation. You've got the Thresh, you've got Maokai with a big ultimate. Kiting back through all of that just meant that the pick comp was never able to single out a priority target, and the team fights were way too hard.
Yeah, and we saw that in the upset there. Absolute taking the win over Avant. They'll get the chance for revenge, I guess, today as well. But you saw Wall there with his Ash. It looked great the first time he played, or the first few times, but those arrows either found no targets or targets that already had QSSs.
Yeah, exactly right. And that was the problem. It got too late into the game where these guys had really ramped up. The QSS was being bought on everyone. There was a Mikhail's running around the Rift as well. It was just too little too late. And you know, Avant, they really went away from the match, and you could see that they were playing much more aggressive. Next game, they picked up the Ash Janna. They were just trying to run through, make sure they were on top of everything. And that's Avant's style of League of Legends. If they can get Shelby rolling, Porky in a good position, you expect them to come out with the win.
Avant, though, they have won games, certainly with some more creative picks. Kensti especially has had a very unique champion pool that's kind of all that he's playing and no one else is, like the Cho'Gath. Are we expecting Avant, as far as picks, to maybe keep them more consistent, or is it the playstyle that they really want to hone in on?
It's really the playstyle they want to hone in on. I don't think it's so much of what they pick, but why they pick it. I didn't like the pick comp philosophy that came through. I think they're much better when they go on the 3v3 skirmishes, and you know, Cho'Gath plays right into that. A kit loaded with CC, the ability to remove someone off the map, especially when he is built AP, and just the consistent knockups with all the CDR Kensti had. So I think that the philosophy behind the team just needs to change. Go for that mid-game team fighting comp and let Shelby, Kensti do their thing.
Well, we're into the draft now. We'll see if these teams do make the adjustments here. But again, very recent match between these two teams, so they'll really have each other on the brain. And Avant, they want revenge. They need the points. They're going to try and take it.
Yeah, exactly right. Straight away, they remove Azir as well. So
get
that's
him out.
Number 1 gone. Throw it in the bin. All of a sudden, the Nunu pick just not as worthwhile.
Yeah, not so much as Rise the ban there for Absolute. Very strong top lane champion. Avant, considering their next ban as well, what do they want to go with? It's Hecarim actually in the top lane.
Yeah, so taking that one away, Hecarim just a very good all-round top lane. And we see Hecarim and Fizz really the two last top laners that survived the Smite teleport nerfs that came through, so I have to see if that's something else they look at.
Yeah, Cogwar actually banned away. That's, believe it or not, a mid ban there from Kensti.
Yeah, it certainly is, and just sets up way too many siege scenarios. It's too easy once you get that tier, as well as the Luden's Echo coming through there to just shove people off turrets, take down objectives, and be able to push yourself through that mid game. Also very strong late, doesn't really fall off, so understand the ban.
Yeah, one more pick as well. Ban, sorry, away for Avant. It is Echo, of course, everyone's favorite ban.
Yeah, it certainly is. Just good in every single role right now. I think you can even run him as support. It's no surprise.
Really?
Maybe.
Maybe. His kid is good enough. You never know. We'll have to see what Absolute do want to ban away as their final champion. Remember, we've swapped sides as well, so Absolute might have to change some of that drafting here on the red side, but we've seen a lot of pretty good red side drafts. Both these teams have drafted relatively well when they've looked their best, and a Caitlyn pick away from Warble.
Yeah, well, Warble really shoved down turrets in the game that he was able to pick it up, so that was actually Sin that ran it against him the first time around. Cardred really exploding back into the scene with that Caitlyn pickup, couple it with a Janna, too hard to engage on, so getting that away from Warble, who's already had one successful performance, is a pretty good idea.
I mean, do we think Warble should just go a little bit more Caitlyn, more for those hard carries and a little less of the Ashe?
So the Ashe is something that I didn't like. I think that he's still relatively good on Sivir, so I wouldn't be surprised to see if that is picked up, especially because the Caitlyn is off the Rift, which is like the massive counter pick. You still have Jinx, but you can typically lane swap away from her until you have some wave pushing. So I have to see exactly what Warble does want to run down there. But I agree, he needs some carry potential, as well as he can have utility if he wants.
Yeah, I mean, again, his first few Ashe games looked great. It was just the last one that didn't quite get together. Again, maybe more of a stylistic problem there for Avant. Don't have a whole lot of time to get their next pick into order, though. 2 seconds left from Porky. Very late, but very standard. It will be Rek'Sai.
Yeah, exactly right. Gragas not gone, so they're prioritizing the Rek'Sai over the top of it. Shelby gets his mid-game high ganking jungler to see if he can impact some of these lanes.
And absolutely, we talked about the drafting, instantly locking in the Rumble and the Sivir. They know exactly what they want to go for.
Yeah, exactly right. And this would have been what they were talking about. Do they first pick Porky's Rumble? Because he's had some good performances on it, but he had that one notable game where he got the double kill bottom lane, walked back top with 4-0-1, and just wasn't able to get it done. So we'll see whether it is something that Porky is a little bit hesitant to pick up in the future, but it will be run against him this time around.
Yeah, they're both good Mako players as well, so I like the blocker pick there of the Rumble, sort of taking Mako off, that no one really likes the matchup that much. Might see something different here for Porky. Avant don't have to show too much. They've seen pretty standard stuff from Absolute so far, so probably not really thinking, hey, this is exactly what you'll be running.
Yeah, exactly. So you see, they are actually looking at Nah does relatively good in the Rumble matchup, so I would like to see that come through. Has, I guess, equivalent teamfight presence as well, because the Nah into the Wallop combo is just so much CC during the mid game, especially before a lot of Merc treads come out. And Janna seeing a lot more play at the moment. No Caitlyn involved in this game, so it's a little bit of a strange pickup, honestly.
I mean, they could still pick her, I guess. They've got the option with the Sivir already being there, but not Janna, yeah, very different. We've seen a lot of hard engaged champions like Nautilus, champions like Alistar, often from the support role, be very instrumental. So maybe it's just, you know what, back to disengage supports.
Yeah, so we'll have to see whether it's something that they're worried about getting mid-game team fought on and they just need a disengage option, although Nah provides that as well with his ultimate. He can just jump into people, Nah them backwards and flash away. Very good disengage tool in his own right. So Destiny has some pressure. He's normally that guy in the mid game that we like to see roam around the Rift on the likes of Alistar, on the likes of Thresh. Both are available, and instead he goes with a very passive support.
Yeah, it's interesting there, but I do like the response from Absolute. We're going to have Annie, presumably for the support role though, and of course Malik's going to take Gragas.
Yeah, and this is why we saw Janna fall out of favor, because Annie does just so much hard engage that it's nearly impossible to lane 2v2 against it once you hit that level 6. The flash into the Tibbers, Annie can get most of the job done herself. Only requires a couple of autos and a spell to come through from whatever AD carry. The likes of Sivir, the likes of Grace, even Illusion in that lane just makes it a kill lane against the support only.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of people like to pick on Janna's. Even the likes of Thresh or Nami can have a decent matchup. So Janna, she's great in the skirmishes, great in the team fights. Maybe suffers a bit in lane, especially against a champion like Annie.
Yeah, certainly did. And they're leaving on the side of Absolute mid-beast to counterpick. So we'll have to see what Kensti wants to run blind into that. Cho'Gath is still available, although the likes of Varus do relatively well against him. Poke lanes or always have. So it looks like he's going for something a little more standard, going for his Twisted Fate.
Yeah, I mean, a bit different for Avant, but some comfort picks at least for the last two. That Vayne there picked up for Warble as their carry, and Kensti's going back to Twisted Fate.
Yeah, so Twisted Fate, Kensti's always played it. Very good Twisted Fate player. Does like to split push a little bit more. We'll have to see how it works out, whether he can make the Destiny work. But Janna Vayne, one of the weirdest lanes coming into it. I actually think it is inherently weak, late game, once you get scaling up, because Vayne doesn't build a lot of AD, the shield helps a lot because she goes the more attack speed route, but just doesn't offer any tools in lane, and honestly isn't even defensive enough to keep Vayne alive unless you lane swap. You really do need a lane swap, and in that case, Janna's nearly outclassed by every other support on the Rift during the lane swap and the roaming phase, so they're not really getting anything out of this.
No, they're really picking their Warble to try and carry this game. Like we talked about him maybe going towards more carries. It was the Caitlyn for his last game. Vayne's another big step, maybe in the other direction or right to the extreme, but if Warble can show up on the champion, he'll look great, as we do have a last pick Ari.
Yeah, and you know, people think of Vayne as this tank buster, able to get in there, get the silver bolt procs. She is very good in that regard, but she also deals with squishies incredibly well. The Condemn has a high base damage. You're able to get in there, dance around. She shreds through people's HP no matter what it is. So I do like her into squishy comps. I don't think she is only a tank player. But the one thing that she's always had a problem with is she's extremely one-target focused. Doesn't have any AoE in the kit. And honestly, if you jump on her, lock her down, she suffers what most assassins suffer in the fact that she dies incredibly quickly.
Yeah, and this is the thing for me about Vayne, is that when I see teams pick her, I like a bit more skirmish in their comp. So I think with Twisted Fate, I can kind of see what Avant want to do here.
Yeah, they certainly do. They want to get the Blade of the Ruined King, the Youmuu's Ghost Blade, go into a split push with the Vayne, then allow the Twisted Fate to port in and help her out. Also going to help light up the map, make sure she doesn't get collapsed on. It was an Ahri that was picked up last for mid base. Little bit of a throwback champion, very assassin based, does well against TF in the lane, and should be able to get onto the Vayne late game and give her hell.
Yeah, and I like what Ivana put together here. I mean, I like what Absoluta put together here. Again, another strong draft here. Very early game and mid game oriented, lots of assassins here, lots of pick potential, but it seems like it plays into the Absolute style.
Yeah, it certainly does. You know, in late game, there's always a possibility that you land a charm on a priority target and just blow them up. Ahri never really falls off. Champions with high mobility seldom do. So should be able to get in there and at least be consistent throughout the late game. The Rumble is the big question mark for me. Are they able to, in the top lane, get Jack Attack ahead?
We'll have to find out. As you can see, the team comes on your screen. And of course, we'd love you to get on Twitter and let us know who you think's going to win there as well. Use the hashtag AVWin for Avant or ABS win for Absolute.
Yeah, so get on the abs win or the Avant win, depending on what you want to do here. But you can see, once again, we complimented Absolute's drafting phase last time these teams met. They've got a little bit more, I guess, mid-game skirmish potential as opposed to that hyper late-game scaling composition they went with the Nunu, Azir, and Kalista. But you can see they've stuck to their guns, made sure that they're able to get in there, even have the Sivir to supplement all that team fighting they want to get done. The pick potential will be very real in this team.
Yeah, and it's just a cohesive draft here. It does one thing, but it does it very well here for ABS. So let's look at Avant's comp then. We kind of noted in their last matchup between these two teams, Avant's draft maybe left something to be desired. Do you like their team comp, Spawn?
So one thing I like about their team comp is Absolute rests on denying vision, because they need people face checking them, get the Annie stun out there, get Ahri flying across people, blowing them up, and then making the team uneven. Kensti will solve that problem by being able to destiny around major objectives. So that is one good thing. The other good thing is Porky should be get to the point where no one can really touch him on this lineup, because they don't have a legit tank buster. So Porky, along with Shelby, should be able to form up, dive the backline. Really, after they have 3 items, there's not really much they can do to deal with that.
Yeah, and I think that Avant might have been, honestly, just looked to do a lot of split pushing. Between Rek'Sai and Twisted Fate, they have a lot of good advanced vision.
Yeah, they certainly do. You know, they'll have the teleport. Porky will be able to do it early game, then it will move into Twisted Fate. Late game, Rek'Sai loves to be the person that does it, because generally other people are maxed out in items. He wants a little bit more gold. She wants a little bit more gold because she's the jungler typically, so able to get her into a free lane, ult back down there, very low cooldown late game. They definitely have legitimate split pushing options.
They do, and I think just the Rek'Sai Twisted Fate with the Tremor Sense plus Destiny synergy, I think if Avant can find picks with the skirmish elements of their comp, it'll look good. I'm not entirely sure it's the Avant that we're looking to see, which is much more aggressive and much more team fight based.
Well, one thing they did do is rotate around the map really well with the Caitlyn and take down turrets. And they have the opportunity to do this in a little bit different way using their globals this time around. So they can see if they can pick uneven fights, really focus on objectives and try and rotate through lanes correctly, get deep vision down and really just try and drag Absolute around the map. The danger is that is being caught in the jungle by an equalizer. All you need is one fight where you think you have vision and you've denied it all, and Jack Attack to catch you out, Malik to fly in there and be this big beefy Gragas, and a lot of things can go wrong.
Yeah, so I've talked a lot about Absolute and what they're looking to do here. We kind of talked about what the comp does for Absolute, but what are they looking to do as far as winning the game goes? Where do they need to look for their strengths?
So typically you want to get the one-on-one lane. As soon as you take a Sivir in there, just continue to shove in. She should be able to shred through Vayne, although Vayne, as soon as she gets one item, starts winning the lane. That's why it's a quasi counter pick. So we'll see whether they start in 2v2 lanes, try and shove it out, pick on that Gianna pick, try and get the Sivir ahead. And then with every Sivir comp, exactly the same thing. You're looking to group up, get around the map early, secure those dragons, and push down some turrets.
Well, see if they can do just that. He was going to pop back into the studio with Atlas and Rusty.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time, and welcome to the Caster Desk. I'm, of course, Max Atlas Anderson. This is Zach Rusty Pie, and we're ready to get into this game. I'm really excited, and it looks to me like Avant picking a lot of comfort picks, but on the side of Absolute, man, that team comp looks like it's just going to run all over you.
Essentially just designed to run super fast at your face and get you down. But you're right, comfort picks essentially from this Avant lineup. But what I really like is they've got that Twisted Fate there now, and they've even got a teleport in the top lane, the chance to roam anywhere on the map, and the bot lane is going to see a lot of action.
Yeah, it's true, and they've got triple global, don't they? They've got the Void Rush there from Rek'Sai at the same time, so everyone can sort of be there right when Avant need them, and we'll see whether they are going to be moving around the map, sort of assisting Warble in his split pushing. But one question that you raised to me is this Janna Vayne lane. And what do? Do they go for the lane swap? Is that what they're trying to do? Because it doesn't seem to look like it works for the rest of the map.
So there's an interesting point to make about this is if you're looking to lane swap with the Vayne, the Janna is inherently weaker than that of the Annie. The Vayne does want to get out of the lane and get a 1v1 situation to feel stronger. But if they force that 1v1, or they force the lane swap even, it may become really bad for them and may backfire depending on how the Annie works.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how this goes, but we are onto the rift for our first game of the night here for the OPL, and Avant taking on Absolute. Avant really looking for revenge after Absolute really took it to them in their previous matchup, and Absolute themselves really looking to pick up some victories here, make their way towards playoff contention, which is, you know, not out of reach, but it's getting further and further away as the weeks go on. Destiny might be in trouble here as he plops a ward down. Mattress looking for a stun, but not going to find it.
Thankfully getting out there. It's always risky to sit in that bush and not actually place the ward down. So Absolute with the right idea.
Oh, we might find Shelby here, actually. There's the stun as Malik's going to get the slow with the barrel. Everyone turning up now as the stun card goes off. There's the ignite. One last auto attack. Kulo picks it up for first blood, and they knew they were there. What were they doing?
A big mistake from Shelby, even holding on to the flash until it was too late. All it took was one flash in return from Kulo. They get the first blood onto a Sivir, and that spells a very difficult predicament to be in if you're Warble and Destiny.
Yeah, it's true, and it looks like Absolute may even be able to answer the lane swap here. Of course, Avant made it into the jungle, got some lane swap wards down.
They didn't call the swap, though.
No, they didn't actually call it out. So Jack Attack going to be making his way towards the top lane, and Warble is going to be A-OK. So we'll see whether Avant can bounce back after that devastating first blood to go onto the hyper carry in the bottom lane there, of course. Not necessarily a hyper carry, but probably a little bit scaled up towards that area now.
You know, in saying that, he's actually started with the Brawler's Glove as well, working towards that average blade as soon as possible. So given that there is a lane swap in effect, he'll have that super early, and we'll be just making money.
Making bank on the Sivir. Doing the very best that he can here. Jack Attack moving around, just wants to get behind his jungler, get himself some extra experience. Doesn't want to be in that 2v1 lane as a Rumble. Just doesn't necessarily enjoy himself that much. And Destiny going to get some forward vision down. So a Vayne in a 1-for-nothing lane. Feeling pretty good.
Always a very good position to be in as a Vayne. You want to scale and get as many items as you can before you start to fight. Swap back into that 2v2 matchup where you have a slight advantage against the Sivir, but again, it's going to be on the back of how the supports tend to play this. And given we've got that lane swap in effect, one of them is jungling, the other's looking for a gank.
Yeah, Mattress looking to come around the back side of Kensti. Blue card goes out. Ooh, Charm going to go wide as Mattress shows himself in the mid lane, and Kensti's going to be okay, so not going to pick up any extra aggression. But Absolute, with this sort of lead early by picking up that first blood, it only is going to sort of speed them up towards that massive mid game they're aiming for.
In a way, it definitely is. They're going to have a lot of extra gold on the relevant carry, whereas you'll see the Vayne will be struggling to get onto the level that the Sivir is, so perhaps they get their item timings first and they start to rotate a little bit sooner. But from the looks of it, they're going straight for the dragon instead of pushing a turret.
Yeah, Malik actually heading towards that one. Teleport into the bottom lane as Porky going to head down there. He's going to be okay, of course, generally a dangerous maneuver, but Absolute just continuing on this dragon. Down to half health, and they are going to be able to nail that one themselves. But Avant probably knows.
Most of the time it's really risky to actually teleport into that bottom lane. But you can see Destiny has rotated down with Porky, who has teleported. And the fact they all went missing, seemingly a sign for Porky to say that he is safe, not going to get dove.
Well, Mattress going to clear out a pink ward here. Is Destiny going to try and stop him from doing so? The Storm actually is enough to get Mattress out of there. It throws down a ward. It's going to continue his destruction. And yes, nails it there. 30 extra gold for Mattress. An Absolute with 4 members in the bottom lane looking for a potential dive. We'll see whether they actually go for it here as Jack Attack takes a lot of damage from Porky actually. Flame Spitter on. Yeah, exactly. Massive cooldown now, of course. But Ivor Storm pretty handy in this potential dive situation, giving Porky a little bit more of his health back. Warble tanked up those minions for quite some time.
Yeah. I just stop and think, where has he actually lost health from? It was only minions. So almost getting the better of him there. Is Absolute relentlessly pushing this bot lane because they've got the numbers advantage. Does start to favor the Nara eventually because, whoa, hello.
Well, Shelby looking to come in for a gank, does find it here. Gold card down on a mid-beast who's completely out of mana. Red buff going to slow him down, but mid-beast makes it to the safety of his turret. And Kulo needs to be a little bit careful here. That brawler as well, not giving him too much back. But Porky and Meganar is going to be fine. And Absolute, they're not stopping on this turret. They really want to take it down.
They are adamant on getting this turret down. They're going to continue to commit to it. But again, to touch on the point that I was making is that Porky is getting experience between 2 people here with Destiny. Absolute have put 4 members here for upwards of 5 waves to take this down. It is taking them so long to do so that at 5 minutes and 30, it finally goes down. But is that worth it for them? Because Vayne has been sitting up here completely freely farming, is almost level 6 or halfway to level 6 now.
Yeah, very close. Ahead by a couple of CS, but that's not the point at this stage. It's getting all of those extra levels. And when you're sharing a lane with 4 people, you are putting yourself relatively behind. And it's a whole lot of resources going towards Avant. That being said, Absolute still with the gold advantage, considering the fact that that turret's gone down and First Blood, of course. It's Porky just going to take some cheeky turret hits. Keep getting the pressure here on the bottom side of the map. Warble now pushing the lane forward a little bit more than he was. And Civ is going to meet him in the top lane.
That's a longsword start for Porky as well. And from the looks of it, that's 5 whole red. And Porky doesn't want to die. He just does not want to take damage, or if he does, he wants to stay at full health. And at the moment, we're looking at 2 levels in advantage of Porky compared to that of Jack Attack, and 16 or 15 odd CS in his favor. So the tower has gone down. That's global gold for every member of Absolute, so that is always going to be welcome. But in this 1v1, if Porky can find himself with some kind of a lead, maybe get a kill from it, then Avant will be in a very good position. All in all, it took them a very long time to do so.
Yeah, and he even has that Null Magic Mantle there as well, as Midbeast's going to miss the charm, but Shelby unable to head in any further. And we'll see whether Kensti can land a successful Destiny. He's already got the Sheen, so the burst damage is most certainly available.
Who has a Null Magic Mantle?
Ah, Porky actually sold it. Picked up
Doran's
Blade instead.
Yeah, Doran's Blade and Boots. Right. I was looking for a Null Magic Mantle.
No, he actually he sold it back again.
Okay.
Interestingly enough.
No worries.
But so not actually going for an earlier Hex, but looking to grab some combat stats first.
Yeah, looking to continue. The mobility is very big in this lane, having the boots as well up against the Rumble. You're a very sticky mini-Gnar when you have boots.
Jack Attack might be in trouble here as he silences himself. Of course, Warble with a massive level advantage picks himself up a kill, and that's 1 back for Avant.
Recalls with a Cutlass and level 6. Comes to the bot lane and has the Janna to support him through a very easy 1v2 scenario right there. Jack Attack with no resources and only now getting Sork Shoes as well. He's going to be in a very difficult spot, but Absolute, on the flip side, they are trying to do the same thing in the top lane, but they're looking more at objectives than kills.
Yeah, they're really trying to take down these turrets. Shelby now is the one babysitting Porky this time. Of course, it's amusing. Mini-Gnar looks a little bit like a baby.
I mean, until it becomes Mega Knight.
Oh, Shelby going so aggressive. Nice spell shield, forcing the flash immediately, but the double stun from Mattress, and Shelby's gonna die. Mattress picking up the kill, well deserved for the bloodthirsty support play. And AV really have to be careful because they're gonna lose all their structures.
His Mega Knight may just waste the ultimate to try and stop them from taking the turret in this wave. You can see the pressure that he's putting down by just walking aggressively. Forces them back for at the very least an extra wave. And Porky is essentially just buying time for his team right now. The bot lane is the big focal point of this Avant-Garde side. And the fact that it's a very, very denied Rumble up against the Vayne and a Janna, they're just trying to bide their time as long as possible, be content with a CS advantage. But meanwhile, these turrets, if they can make plays from actually having an advantage in global gold on every member, then it's going to start affecting them. And I mean, you look at the side of Absolute, they've got the Rumble as well. Their item spikes once they hit levels and their power spikes with spells such as their ultimates, going to be really big for them.
Yeah, most certainly is. We'll see whether Absolute can get to a point where they can utilize them as well. Of course, picking up all of this extra gold from the turrets is going to be helping them out there. It looks like it's part of AV's plan, though. They're not playing to try and stop any of this fast pushing that's going on. And is that a decent strategy, or have they missed something here?
Well, I mean, they're working around a skirmish and pig style comp with a very good scaling late game team fight. So, speaking of which...
Yeah, Destiny into the bottom lane. There's the flash. Equalizer comes out. Destiny gets caught by that one, but it's just to try and save Jack Attack's life, and in that, he's successful.
Yeah, he gets away quite easily in the end there with his life and not actually taking too much health, though. So, still able to defend the turret quite handily. They've got Sivir to come back down now. Kulo is down there, but meanwhile...
Yeah, Porky just hanging out here in the top lane. He doesn't have a teleport on his opponent in Jack Attack, so Porky, with his teleport available, just freely smashing on this turret. No one anywhere near him on the side of Absolute, and he might even be able to take that one down, even if he needs to wait for the next wave.
Yeah, he should be able to get that quite easily. Has the teleport available, but no Mega Knight. Starting the stack now, and Absolute has started this dragon. Avant looking like they want to at least get vision of it. The timer with the threat of a steal, but again, second dragon, 10 minutes, not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Of course, vision is there for Avant, so they'll have the timer for the next one. And as you mentioned, of course, trying to get some sort of ability to counteract the next dragon will be very important. They do not want Absolute getting any more movement speed because, of course, they do want to be getting around the map. They do want to be setting up for picks here this game.
Look at the Absolute lineup, and move speed is everything and more. They could possibly want an Annie and a Sivir. That's all you really need to say right there. They want that third dragon very badly. And something that I really like about this strategy that Absolute have put in place is they put emphasis on that early dragon instead of getting a turret. They then spent a lot of time making sure they had a turret advantage. They got the top turret in response, back down in time for the second dragon. They knew that the trade would come out for turrets and objectives, but they still find themselves with a lead in terms of overall objective control and 2 dragons to boot.
Yeah, they're definitely doing well. Malik making a visit here to the mid lane, going to clear out a pink ward that Kensti had put down for himself. So he's probably just going to be hanging back, just holding the wave towards his side of the lane. Now we've got the 2v2 scenario. Of course, Berserker's Greaves now for Warble, so a bit more attack speed, feeling a little bit better there as Kensti with a non-detrimental and a blasting wand, actually. Shelby, looking for Malik. Nice ward there, but Shelby, I don't think even saw it.
Oh, well.
Yeah, okay, he's standing on top of it now, most definitely. Jack Attack making his way around. The tunnel is, of course, there, and Prey Seeker not going to find Jack Attack, and Shelby is going to be safe this time around. Porky heading towards the top side, but might need to be careful here just because he's clearly in the Absolute side of the map.
Yeah, Absolute commanding a very smart ward being put down there by Malik to spot the Rek'Sai as he casually stood on top of it and made friends with it or something.
I don't know.
For a long period of time there.
It might have been the fact that he was burrowed. And Rek'Sai, her field of vision ain't so great when she's burrowed underground.
That is a very valid point to make, in fact. Most likely what happened there. And you can see Rek'Sai is spending a lot of time up here, maybe looking for something.
Yeah, there's the bounce from Porky. Doesn't quite have the Mega Knight just yet, but gonna be fine here because Jack Attack just gets torn apart. I looked at Shelby's items after that. I thought that could have been a warrior enchant because Jack Attack just melted.
Very squishy. Keep in mind, he only has Sork Shoes and a Ruby Crystal is his only option of health right now with that Doran's Shield. And a very, very squishy Rumble. Behind in levels, only just started to catch up, is very vulnerable to being taken down by what is the raw damage output of Porky and Shelby here on their respective champions.
Yeah, certainly. So things looking okay as far as the top lane's concerned for Avant. 0-0-1 now for Porky. And Shelby, he's died a couple of times, of course, one of them being the first blood that Kulo managed to pick up. Looks like, speaking of Kulo, he's heading towards the mid lane. Nice Orb of Deception after the charm from mid base. Get a bunch of damage down, and there's the ultimate actually. Mattress in with the Tibbers, and Kensti, he evaporated.
Completely taken away from the map, does not exist anymore, and Absolute, they're looking for the objectives. You can tell they're searching for these turrets, and they do end up getting that one now. 3-1 in favor of Absolute.
Yeah, with an 800 gold lead as well, they're starting to get to where they want to be at this stage of the game. And if they can run away with it at this point, it's going to be very hard for Absolute to find their way back in.
Definitely. It's going to start. They've got a big window essentially now, Absolute. They're looking to make some team fights. Get that level 9 perhaps onto Jack Attack. Get in with a Haunting, guys, before you look for a fight. But Third Dragon's only a few minutes away, no doubt. They're going to be looking towards that as their avenue of a win condition massively.
Yeah, and there's the fact that Absolute have that as another opportunity to find a team fight as well, which is certainly something that they look like they're looking to do and have a massive capability of it. But look at Kenzie, that health bar, super gone.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. It's worth having a replay of seeing just how decimated he found himself right there. Kenzie getting absolutely wrecked. Absolute, you can see. Wow, that was not an intense
Yeah,
time.
that was a good one.
Yeah.
Liked it.
Managing to find easy kills on the back of Annie and that hard engage that can be provided. The Janna always for disengage, but you can tell the lane swap and the fact that all of these rotations have come into effect here has really enabled and completely unlocked Mattress on that Annie to have an impact, and he has.
Yeah, and look, they're focusing on Kenzie here, and Kenzie's the man of the Avant lineup that picks up all the kills mostly. 13 ahead of his closest sort of compatriot there as far as picking up those kills are concerned, and they're funneling them onto Kulo after Absolute managed to do so. He's the carry here for the Absolute lineup.
And you can tell that Kenzie being focused has an Abyssal Scepter already. Wants nothing to do with any form of damage. Get it out of there. Put it in the dumpster.
Yeah, Kenzie just wanted to make sure that he's alive for a little bit longer next time around. It is going to help him out here as he's only down a few CS, and with that loaded dice, it's probably still going to be relatively okay as far as that gold is concerned in comparison to mid-beast. Warble now hanging out in the bottom lane, and 4 members strong of Absolute trying to shove this one down, and their fast push strategy is not stopping.
No, they can very easily work around that charm as well from Ahri. Very long range and deceptively slow missile speed, of course. Always finds itself hitting you when you do not expect it. And the side of Absolute, they've got the hard engage with the Annie, they've got the charm, they've got the Sivir ultimate, the makings of just running into the face of this Avant lineup. And with the next Dragon, 35 seconds, you can tell they're already looking to push that bottom lane in, get control of it, and now work their way to mid perhaps, with everything coming up at the right time. Even the blue buff, Absolute playing very smart right now.
Yeah, and as far as AV are concerned, do they have the wave clear to let their TF be a split pusher here this game? Just because it looks to me like Kenzie, with those wildcards, is one of their only options in that regard.
He will be able to split push, not right now, but very soon. He's got that Sheen and he's got an Abyssal Scepter, which effectively is a combat stat against the Rumble, of course. Rumble being quite behind does enable the potential for split pushing when Rumble looking to team fight with his particular item build, and Avant not being spotted here.
Yeah, Kenzie looking to find his way in. There's the gold card onto Kulo, getting immediately destroyed. Warble locks down the kill as the explosive cast was a little bit late. And look at Shelby right in amongst this fight. Porky, there's the Meganar. Malik into the wall, gets bolted to the face. And in comes the Destiny as Midbeast has to use the ultimate to defensively get under his turret. And Avant catch them out and destroy Absolute.
Kulo walking next to an area where they had no vision, and Avant smartly, of course, sweeping and being prepared to stand in that spot. They find a pick on the back of a gold card. They find the ideal team fight for this scenario up against the big Rumble. Ahri wasn't there in time, and they still run up.
Flashes over the top of the Orb of Deception. Midbeast, you are certainly dead as Shelby locks down the kill credit for that one. And Avant, they can do anything. They can pick people off.
That is what their comp's designed to do, and again, they're playing it so well. They had that vision control. They knew that they were going to go for the Dragon when it spawned and just found Kulo in a very awkward predicament. He goes down. The rest of the team fight is completely, essentially over.
Yep. Just ridiculous. Warble as well finds himself 4-0 and 1. And let's see him pick up these next 3 kills.
Look how quickly Kulo just goes down right there. The fact that the Tibbers did hit, but the Janna Tornado hit even more people. Knocked up all 4 of them. Allows Porky to come in with that Meganar bounce, and a triple kill for Vayne. Massive fight for Avant.
Yeah, and the Equalizer was in a great position as well from Jack Attack. It just wasn't doing enough damage. Avant really managed to get themselves into the right positions, and they were playing aggressively. What we've seen from Avant, especially last week in their game versus Sin, was that they weren't pulling the trigger. They weren't able to find these aggressive fights, and it seemed like ever since that one game, they've realized, okay, we're an aggressive team, let's go ham. And they certainly have been doing it. And it's off the back of Shelby. He's on the Rek'Sai, able to really get amongst it early.
Yeah, making things happen for his side here, Shelby. Doing a lot of work again. Kenzie finding ultimates, but not really getting any direct kills from those. So you can really see the impact that Shelby has been having on this map. Porky, the presence that he has had on the back of Shelby as well. He's impacting everywhere right now. Their team fighting is starting to grow stronger already. And because they're mostly a pick and skirmish style comp, the option of split push is always going to be relevant for this TF. And that's just another option that Absolute will have to address.
Yeah, and if Avant can keep getting picks onto Kulo as well on this Sivir, then no one's going to kill Porky. He's going to be invincible. He's got so much magic resist now with the Spectre's Cowl, of course, the Hex Drinker, and the Mercury Shreds that everybody else in the Absolute lineup, pure magic damage, not going to do anything.
It's actually super smart here from the side of Avant. Porky, never mind, but the fact that they've got the Abyssal Scepter on Twisted Fate, Merc Treads are even on the Rex side being rushed as soon as possible. They're stacking magic resistance, and they're just going to run at Kulo. If Kulo can live through a fight, if he can live through an engage, then granted, Absolute will be in a fantastic spot to actually take the rest of the fight out. But you're up against the side with a Nara, Twisted Fate, and even the Rex side to a degree, and you're a very low-ranged AD carry, so an uphill battle, to say the least, right now for exclusively Kulo.
Yeah, most certainly. Well, second turret is about to go down in the bottom lane here for Avant, as Wildcard's going to be clearing out the minions in the mid lane. Warble, you can see, locks that one down relatively easily, and Destiny just hanging out, picking up some experience, wants to make sure he's not falling too far behind. And Kenzie, I mean, he's back to ahead in farm. He's been able to sort of come back from what was a pretty repugnant gank come through from Absolute.
He's probably even ahead in gold just because of the TF passive as well. So in a very comfortable position, but match responsive.
Yeah, there's the flash tippers onto Kenzie one more time. Kulo locks down that kill. And
just
yeah, the picks from both sides are looking pretty strong.
Kenzie's not going to be able to sleep at night if this continues anymore. He's just finding himself in horrendous positions because it's impossible to dodge that Annie. But there you go, the trade in the bot lane.
Yeah, he's going to be scared of children from now on, I think.
Yes, with bear dolls.
Yeah, as soon as he sees a bear, he's going to be incredibly upset. Kulo, nice spell shield to break the Prey Seeker as more split pushing comes down in the bottom lane. Inner turret actually falling there as Jack Attack cannot defend Porky's Wrath on this top inner turret, and he's looking to try and take that one down. Warble with some sort of flank play immediately gets pinged back by his team.
He wanted it. I feel like he just wanted to make something happen and he was being aggressive. But the trade overall right there was actually in favor of Avant by a sizable amount. A kill and one turret for two turrets alone. Infinitely more worth for this Avant-Garde side.
Yeah, and they've evened up the turrets as well. We saw Absolute putting a lot of their effort into clearing those out. Looks like Avant sort of easily able to at least rectify that situation for now. Mid lane outer turret still standing for Absolute, actually, so we'll see whether Avant focus their attention down there. Oh, no.
Baron's going to wreck you.
And Shelby made the Baron mad.
Never make the Baron mad.
No, you won't like him when he's mad. It's not how that works.
No, that's new.
Rusty, unfortunately. Failed that one. Mid Beast is going to clear out the mid lane. Not too bad, using that Foxfire and everything like that. So we've got a relative lull at this stage, Rusty. What do you think Absolute's choices are at this point? They know that they're falling behind just a little bit. Do they need to keep getting these picks? Is that their maneuver?
They're essentially going to be working around the Annie right now, and exclusively the Annie. Mattress needs to make the pick. He needs to find the target and throw down that Tibbers, drop the bear on their head so that they are in a horrendous position. We've seen how quick Kenzie dies. You have to keep in mind that Kulo is doing an abundance of damage. He's got the Infinity Edge and the Static Shift completed right now in a very comfortable position. Let's not compare him to Vayne first and foremost, but let's just say that he is doing damage. If they can make the pick with the Tibbers, or the Charm even, then they can take a kill out. They don't need to necessarily all in directly after that, but they've got the makings
Destiny
of it.
in the top lane. There's the gold card as Porky tries to make his way around. Nails the house as the equalizer's there, but not into the wall. Wallops down as well, and Kenzie locks down the kill.
Whoa, they're looking for something in response, but they've changed their minds. I mean, the fact that they got the top turret and the bottom turret in that trade when Kenzie went down is exactly how that kill was allowed to happen, using his ultimate to get in there, and they're still going.
Yeah, now one more time. AV creating a lot of pressure in this top side. Oh, Kenzie. He's going to die. May sacrifice his life for another turret, but it is going to be Warble taking down the Dragon in the meantime. Got double lifesteal as the flash body slams there. Shelby smashed into the wall, tunnels his way out. There's the Howling Gale across three members, and Avant are going to be okay here. Warble, we'll see whether the drive-by smite's going to be enough. It is as Shelby makes his way in. And they get a dragon in trade for Kenzie's life. Kenzie seems to be trading his life for every objective on the map.
Kenzie is the sacrificial lamb of this Avant-Garde lineup right now, and rightly so, because they've got the carry in the top lane and the AD carry here of Warble. He's 4-0-1. You do not want him dying.
It's the old Aztec strategy, you know? You sacrifice one Kensti, you know, to the gods.
To the Elo gods.
Yeah, and then you can pick up the rest as Mattress and talismaning in one more time, utilizing the fact that that item does not have quite as long a cooldown as it used to.
Essentially a non-existent cooldown. There's almost halfway for being up again.
Yes.
Which is gross.
This Annie's going to be skipping around relatively quickly.
Yeah, they'll be able to find... We've seen the picks that can come out of it. We just need to see it not onto exclusively Kensti for the next 10 minutes. We need other people to die here if you want Absolute to come out ahead in this game. And they've got the death cap now completed here on Ari. That's big. Big item spike. And their the two items are completed for most of them, except for Rumble, who's about 1.5, I suppose, if you count Sork Shoes. It's one of his big core items. So they can still find team fights, but you compare that to the side of Avant. That's a whole lot of items there on Avant.
Yeah, and he's had those items for quite some time. Warble might be sitting on a stack of gold at this stage. Only about 850, so I'd tell a lie.
Yeah, I mean, look at the top lane though.
Yeah.
That's a bit of gold difference, and it's mostly stacked in towards that magic resistance as well. Not regarding Kulo as a threat whatsoever, instead wants to kill everyone that deals physical damage first, such as Kulo, and then not take any from anyone else.
Yeah, it's true. And one thing that I want to point out is the fact that Warble is only 200 gold ahead. Kulo has definitely done a great job, and that's from having that Avarice Blade for so long.
Yeah, he's had the Avarice Blade for quite a while, and he's the one finding most of the kills here on this side. So very close in items and very close in gold. Absolute still have a big Hyphen carry in that AD role, and again, all of the magic resistance stacking from Absolute. Whoa,
yeah, there's the teleport in. Destiny comes around the side as well as there's the Quadra knock-up from Chelby into the equalizer, but only getting the damage down onto the Rek'Sai. Tumbles out from Warble as they're trying to go quickly into this fight. Kensti locks down mid-beast but gets charmed for it. Mattress finds his way. Kensti's still alive. Monsoon from Destiny, but Jack Attack is finally going to try and lock down that kill. AV in the end come out with the victory. Absolute, they tried, but they just couldn't lock down Warble.
They couldn't find the engage for them. Again, the Tibbers not hitting all of the priority targets, and very smart team fighting here from Avant Garde. They stayed completely split. They never grouped up, and Warble, they're going to go for the Baron.
That is super keen.
No,
Kensti's coming around as well. He just needs to throw in a few cards every now and again and then run away, because this Baron could get mad at him. Malik making his way over to it now as well, as Warble just cuts it down with these silver bolts. You can see that already. Porky very close to dying.
Oh, that was actually super
calculated. Don't even worry about it. There was a ward there as well, so Absolute. Malik could have tried to get in for a smite. Of course, there was no smite in the pit. So let's have a look at this one again.
A fantastic engage there from Chelby, and you can see Mattress with the Tibbers not able to really do anything. And Warble freely hitting in the back right there as a talisman used in response, and the flash gold card. That was all she wrote. Kensti, the fact he lives here is impressive, and amazing use of exhaust essentially there from Destiny to ensure that that happened. The fact that Warble was left completely to his own devices, and he was already 4-0, is now 6-0-4 with a Bloodthirster.
My goodness. We saw that 800 gold.
Yeah.
That was only a couple of minutes ago.
That was pretty close to now.
Yep, you pick up, you know, an ace on the enemy team, picking up 2 of those kills for yourself, you're going to definitely be doing okay. Not to mention a Baron buff there, as Mattress is going to stun Chelby. They're looking for another pick, but he's pretty tanky now. Gets the knock up onto the Annie as Eye of the Storm's helping Chelby out. Uses his Lock of the Iron Solari just for a little bit more of a shield. He's going to be fine.
Down to the Savior coming in there with that shield to ensure nothing was going to happen. We're looking at a very, very difficult position now. 8k in favor of Avant Garde against the team fighting comp of Absolute, who is essentially designed to run at you.
Yeah.
So there's no way for them to really deal with a counter engage. We saw Chelby come in there with a fantastic engage. The side of Absolute had no response besides attempting to turn it around, and here they go again.
Yep.
Didn't even need to, Kensti.
Yeah, I didn't really see much of what just happened there. It's just a dead Mattress.
Yeah, he's having a bad time.
Yeah, it certainly did then. Has been making things happen during this game, but wasn't quite able to get anything done other than his own death at that stage. As Avant now intent on split pushing this map, making sure all of these lanes are shoved in. You can see they've got fantastic vision around as well. Those pink wards might need to be moved up just a little bit because the defensive vision relatively unnecessary. And Absolute, they're trying to defend the inner turret here in the mid lane, but Warble relentlessly pushing the bottom lane.
He can 1v1 anybody right now. You have to address the issue that is that Vayne. And meanwhile, you've got Kensti sitting in the mid lane, can very easily rotate towards top and split push himself. They could find themselves looking at a Baron up 1-3-1, where Absolute have no response besides we have to fight now. And they are so far behind that it is very difficult for them to do so.
Yeah, and AB a little bit lucky, really, that they're this far ahead, just because sieging would have been pretty difficult if things had gone a little bit better for Absolute. Just with the fact that they just don't have very much range.
Yeah, they're looking at a TF who is quite good at sieging, but the Vayne who is also quite low range. And oh my goodness, you can see how far ahead he is. He's not really regarding turrets as things.
They've got so many shields coming through here. They've got the Eye of the Storm, of course, Wobble with the Bloodthirster now as well. Double lifesteal means that he's never really often on very low health as this Vayne smacking down the minions. And Kensti clearing out vision to take himself a grump, or at least just shoot a card at it.
Yeah, well, you've got the cards enabled. You have to kind of use one of them. You may as well get some mana back on a grump.
Yeah, it doesn't watch Mattress put down a ward, but it is going to be the third dragon nailed down here for Avant. Porky hanging out in the top lane. He's going to bounce around all over these creeps. Clear this one out as quickly as possible. He's formed a massive CS lead for himself as well at 197 to 140. That is close to 60. That's pretty silly.
Yep, it's definitely quite silly, really. I mean, everything right now from the Avant lineup is what we would define as silly if you were to compare it to the side of Absolute.
Yeah.
Besides maybe Kulo, the saving grace of the side has his last whisper completed, and if ever there was a chance for them to win a fight, it'd be on the back of a fantastic engage from Mattress where Kulo can run wild.
Yeah, and Kulo as well can help out there. Of course, they've got the Talisman of Ascension. They've got the On the Hunt as well. So if Absolute find themselves in a situation where they can preemptively put down the equalizer and get the fight going on their terms, things might work out. They still have that opportunity, but it's not quite enough. But we do have a pause, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back into the game as soon as possible. But let's quickly sort of take stock of what happened this game. Of course, Absolute did manage to get that fantastic first blood there in the jungle, picking off Chelby there, which is exactly what they want to be doing. But what went wrong? What didn't they manage to do? Because they were pushing turrets, they were making stuff happen.
They were making things happen, but they weren't doing it efficiently, is what I would describe it as.
Okay.
Every time that they made an objective or they traded for something, Avant found a trade that favored them immensely. The fact that they can just walk up and take 2 turrets for your 1, and Kensti the sacrificial lamb, of course. They did get a lot of kills onto the Twisted Fate,
Yeah.
1 or 2 here and there. But again, every time they would go for Twisted Fate, they would all in and take a kill on him. They'd take 1 turret. Avant is sitting in top and bottom taking 2. And so they started very strong. They managed to get the early dragon. They got 2 very quickly. I mean, 10-minute mark getting a second dragon sets you up quite nicely. But from that 10-minute mark, everything just started to slowly crumble and go in favor of Avant.
Yeah, and it seemed to me like Kensti moving around to that top side, Jack Attack, often a linchpin for this Absolute squad, is sort of their focus of this player in particular, something that they've definitely premeditated.
In a way, it is. I think the real reason that they were going so hard for Jack Attack is the fact that turrets were down. And because Twisted Fate is just completely unlocked if another lane has a turret unavailable. You can use that ultimate and get them in a very awkward position. You're an extremely mobile in terms of speed style mid laner that can just get on the back or get behind you and force you into a Gnar. And the last thing you want to do is be walking towards a Mega Gnar. So
Yeah,
it's really a lose-lose situation for any gank where a Gnar and a TF are in good position. So pick on the Rumble. Get him. He was already behind. They made it a lot worse.
Yeah, they most certainly did. And now what are the options here for Absolute? They're down by a massive margin as far as the gold is concerned, but can they stall this one out? Can they find a time where they'll be able to pick a fight on their terms and turn this game around?
The only way that they can win a fight is if it is 100% on their terms. They need the Annie to engage. They need the equalizer to be on most of the members of the Avant-Garde side.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be so hard for them to actually come out ahead in a team fight. The fact that the gold deficit is so large right now puts it in a very awkward position where on the back of Kulo, he's going to have to do a lot of damage, and you're also relying on an ideal engage from the rest of his side. But the magic resistance being stacked by Avant, very smart play, counters the entirety of the side except for Kulo.
Yeah, and they've had that Locket of the Iron Solari very early on. Of course, Porky's build, ingenious, most definitely, because they knew that they were just trying to remove Kulo, and then the Mega Gnar just runs around and destroys everyone. But here we are back into the game as Chelby's just going to get obliterated in the mid lane. And welcome back, Chelby.
Yeah, welcome back to the Rift.
Yeah. 9,000 gold. Still the advantage here for Avant, but Absolute now looking to make something of this 5v4 situation.
Whoa!
Oh, there's the flash charm from mid-base, and they're trying to lock down Destiny. He just speeds on out of there with the Talisman of Ascension. Kenzie, he's going to get stunned up as well. Barreled back into the team. And that's another one for Kulo. They might break the base Absolute off a couple of opportune picks. Porky trying to get in here, but the turret's falling down. Absolute, they lock that one up, and they might be turning this one around. They're going to take down the inhibitor, or at least try to, as they be able to try and get this one sorted out, and Absolute going to back away.
They saved the inhibitor. That is really big for this Avant side right now, because if that went down, they could have been in a predicament of being engaged on. They can now reset the minion wave at the very least and try and get some control back, because they are still ahead. It is still 9,000 gold in favor of Avant. But that small hiccup goes to show what Absolute can do if they're running at you, not away from you.
Yeah, so they managed to pick up a couple of kills, but just weren't quite able to translate that into enough of an advantage. Of course, that gold's still massively in favor of
Warble
Avant.
wants it.
Yeah, looking to try and find Kulo.
Feeling super hypey right now, looking to find kills anywhere he can. He's so good.
Yeah, Shelby might be picked off one more time, because he does tunnel his way out of there. Shelby just going to throw down the sweeper just to make sure that Malik and Mattress couldn't see what he was doing.
Mattress would be your favorite person in the world right now. Look at his item.
Wait. Oh, the spooky ghosts. All right. Engage, incredible bias towards Absolute.
Please don't.
No, that's not true. Not true. But fantastic item. One of my personal favorites. Anything that builds out of an Aether Wisp, I'm definitely okay.
Let's be honest. If you were looking at Annie and you don't need to go for a Righteous Glory anymore, let's just go Spooky Ghost and a Talisman. It does both of the jobs of both of those items.
Yeah.
Gives you ability power as well. So all in all, not actually a bad decision.
Gives you movement speed. Like, this is the fastest Annie ever.
Yeah, you're just missing out on a bit of health for it that does come from that Catalyst in the Righteous Glory. So
yeah, you can run away from any damage there. That's fine. Movement speed, best stat in the game.
yeah, they're just never really running away, Atlas. They're more designed to run out.
Okay, that's a good point. Kulo, he's going to clear out the minions in the mid lane. Absolute looking to try and reset and pick themselves up. An ideal team fight. Porky waiting in the bottom lane as Avant setting up for the Baron. They've got exclusive vision and Mattress. He might be the option. Talisman goes off. Preyseeker not going to find anyone. It's Malik. He can't get the body slam. Kenzie with the Zonyas, but look at the Timbers on top of the equalizer. Warble right in amongst the team as so much damage down. Warble's still alive. There's the Monsoon, and Malik just getting silver bolted to death. Triple kill for Warble now, and Destiny not even going to fall down. It's the ace perfectly for Avant. And they're going to break the base most definitely. Can they take the game?
They looked so awkward there. Warble getting knocked into the entire side of Absolute.
Yeah.
But they couldn't take him down. He's got the double sustain items there. He's even got a Spectre's Cow. Magic resistance everywhere from this Avant-Garde side. They may be able to end the game right now. They've got a lot of time. 10 seconds on all of the Absolute members. And Twisted Fate with that Lichbane. Super adept at taking down the turret.
Yeah, 9-0 and 4 for this Vayne as well. Warble, we've questioned his carry ability, of course, picking up a lot of the Ash. The Nexus so incredibly low, it's going to fall down. And Avant get their revenge on Absolute.
Avant finding their revenge 1-1 against each other now in a very convincing closeout from them. They find the team comp, they make the picks work, and all in all, team decisions is what carried them through that game.
Yeah, really intelligently played there by Avant. Of course, the idea was there from Absolute. Heading onto the Rift, I was actually very scared for Avant. It looked like Absolute had a clear plan. They had this team comp that was going to work cohesively, but it just didn't get past that mid-game where they were supposed to find a spike. And I don't really know what went wrong, but Avant really capitalized on every mistake Absolute made.
We look at Absolute and we know that they're a side that work exceptionally well around the early game stages, and they have a bit of struggles with translating it essentially to the mid and late game stages. Avant utilized that early game where it was a really big strength of Absolute, but they translated every trade into an even match, if not in favor. And they translated again into the later stages where Avant just shine and come through strong.
Yeah, they most certainly did. But for some more analysis, let's throw it out to Pastry Time and Spawn.
Thank you very much, Atlas. We're outside here. And that was quite a game here. Absolute. Seemed like they had it in the early game, but a couple of team fights there in the start of the game, and AV looked like AV again.
Yeah, exactly right. Absolute actually pieced together and played the start of that game really well, rotating around the maps, making sure they were using all their mobility. But after that, just as soon as it got into a team fighting phase, seemed like Avant had their number.
Yeah, so we're actually going to pull up their team comps there from that last game and have a little look at them, because we mentioned draft at the top of the game here. Very important for both teams, and we loved the draft from Absolute.
Yeah, we certainly did, because the reason is if they controlled vision correctly, they should have been able to allow people to face check, use their mobility spells in the, Sivir Ultimate, as well as the Talisman that came through from Annie to single people out, pick them up, and they get objectives. And we saw that at the start of the game, really strong pushing through there. But what we didn't take into account is how many split pushing threats were on the Avant lineup and how good they were in 5v5 team fights. And, you know, as the game started to dissolve, it really opened up. It was definitely Avant that was getting the better of it.
Yeah, so we can see, of course, just the pick elements here from Absolute. We can see the Sivir, we have the Annie, even got the Gregor Salty if they need it, and of course, just all of the damage and Wombo that can come through. So I believe we have a replay. Actually, one of the first kills in this game on poor little Kensty.
Yeah, exactly right. So we'll see what the mobility summoners do when you can single someone out under the turret. This is what Annie's always been great for. Watch her. She will actually go the long way around the minimap here. So when we get this one rolled out, it's actually Mid-Beast that dives in here and tries to stare up Kensty, and able to do so, get some return damage on him with a nice orb. And all of a sudden, Annie, who's running through the bottom, taking their time, just chilling, coming in.
And then Kulo pops the ultimate.
Right now, Kulo pops the ultimate, and they just hit the go button. And this is what Sivir Annie's always been able to do. Pick someone off, get the Tibbers down, layer all that CC. And Kensty, you know, he just kept dying through the mid-game.
Yeah, you can see Shelby just at the end there. He's trying to help out Kensty, but it's already dead. There's nothing he can do there in that situation. Very squishy on the Twisted Fate. But that was, you know, that was the first bit of the game. Absolute looked really good when that happened. Then what happened, Spawn?
Yeah, so whilst it was like 1v3 and they were able to get those picks, use the Talisman to get them around, looked really good. As soon as they grouped up, looked really bad. So when we roll out this next clip, you'll see that the teleport, the TF ultimate, everything's going to be used. So set the scene here. Still relatively even. Sure, Absolute's fallen a little bit behind, but AV have just gone into 1-3-1 mode. They've got Porky in the top lane. No one can get him. They've got Kensty in the bottom lane. He's split pushing madly. And Absolute just hit the button. They're like, we need to siege this turret. So as we roll it out, Absolute really go hard for this one. They're trying to take down the turret. Porky teleports. Destiny gets popped here, lights everyone out. And then Shelby gets a great 4-man knock-up. And from there, teamfight's pretty much over because there's just not much they can do in response.
Yeah, Warble really cleaning up. And this is the sort of comp I was talking about where Vayne does actually excel as a carry when you can have long fights up a lane here, use your tumble, use your passive to get further and chase down targets, and just focus on one person at a time. Because you can see Warble's just playing janitor at this point.
Yeah, exactly right. And the important thing to note at that was Mattress altered Kensty, and the equalizer was nowhere near Warble. So he just ran over the top because there was nothing left to be able to take him out there. And as long as they were picking people off using their CC proactively, they looked good, Absolute. As soon as it got to that 5v5 and, you know, Porky got huge, Shelby got huge, all of a sudden too hard to deal with all those tanks, and it was just over.
It was indeed. We're going to pop back into the casting desk to get a little bit more analysis in that game.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. We're here on the desk with Rusty, of course, but also T-Gun from Team Immunity, just to share with us some of his insight and have a chat to us about what's been going on in the OPL for him. And of course, T-Gun, fantastic to have you here on the desk. I want to start just talking about you just for a moment and Team Immunity as a whole, because you guys have had quite a few changes moving through the OPL. How are you feeling at this point, and how's the loss of Soul Strikes going?
It's a bittersweet loss. We like Soul Strikes. He's fitting in really well with the team, but we knew he was going to Korea. We knew he was going to come. So we found a replacement, which is Otherness, who has so graciously decided to help us, and he's fitting in quite well with the team, and we're pretty happy with how we're performing in scrims.
Oh, fantastic. So, of course, debuting tonight, T-Gun?
Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, hopefully you guys are going to find your former form, because things were really looking up for you guys moving through. You did find yourself some momentum. And one question that I have for you personally is, where did the Blitzcrank go? Why aren't we seeing the T-Gun Blitzcrank?
It just doesn't fit right now.
No.
It's
a shame,
like
isn't it?
Morgana, only
Doesn't
worse,
have to
right?
fit, man.
I would love to play it more, but it just does not fit the meta. With so many tanks in the meta right now, one missed hook and I'm not helping, I'm hurting, right? And people just aren't ready to sort of commit to such a risky pick.
Yeah, sort of all or nothing a little bit.
Maybe in the future, maybe we'll come out with some cheese, maybe against Chiefs, because they are, let's be honest, the best team in the OPL, and we need to play something like that. But as for right now, there's no plans for the future with Blitz.
A little bit unfortunate, of course. I have fond memories. I'm just going to hold them close to my heart, and hopefully they'll carry me through.
Let's get back to the
Yeah,
game
let's
that just happened.
let's localize this just a little bit. Of course, Absolute coming out with the loss of Avant, really managing to get their revenge there, T-Gun. But what went wrong for Absolute? It looked like their team comp had a lot of things that were working for them.
Yeah, but they had a very clear plan. And once Avant are able to identify that plan, they know exactly how to sort of work against what Absolute have. And Absolute revealed their hand really early, not even by picks and bans, but by giving up the bot tower wave, letting Gnar TP in, letting Gnar get all the farm, get all the XP, and taking Dragon. Absolute saying, all right, we're going to win this through Dragons. We want to take the 5th Dragon at 30 minutes and win the game. And that's all good and well if it works, but the second they lose one Dragon, the game's pretty much over. Because as you can see, Avant stacking MR, Absolute only have one AD person who for some reason built a static Shiv. I don't know why you build a static Shiv when you have so much wave clear and 4 AP champions, but he did. And you have no real way to counteract this 1-3-1 that Avant are going to set up, and they're not going to give up.
So would you have perhaps suggested they went for the turret first and have a little bit later on that Dragon, just to give them some more possibilities of how to close out a game, perhaps?
Either go for the turret or at least leave something to threaten Gnar if he comes and TPs into the wave.
Yeah.
Giving him the whole wave for free, can't do it. It absolutely just decimates your ability to sort of continue this 2v1 lane. You saw Vayne just sitting up top, happily splitting, no one there to contest him. And the second that AV think, oh, they're going to swap back, Vayne's going to go down bottom, he does, and he kills Rumble.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was easy kills there for Wobble. I want to actually talk about that bottom lane here because Janna Vayne, not one that you necessarily think of as being a relatively strong one.
Not a good lane at all.
How did it actually work here in this? Was it all part of that lane swap and that's sort of how you get the Janna Vayne working? Because I see Janna as sort of, if you float her around, she doesn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, it's a weird champ to have in the lane swap, but if you look at their overall comp, it fits quite well. Their whole plan is to devolve into this 1-3-1 forever strat. Rek'Sai top, TF bot, team mid, or however they decide to choose to do it. When you have Janna with you, against a high engaged team like Absolute, who have Sivir, who have Talisman, who have Righteous Glory, the Janna ult is enough to peel them back to get your teammates in and make it a 5v5 instead of a pick. That's why they picked it. As far as lane swap goes, I don't think they expected it to go as well as they did, but that's sort of a benefit that Absolute didn't punish such a weird pick. Absolute needed to track the 2v2 and make it a 2v2, or at the very least not give Vayne a free lane of just farming and doing whatever he wants.
Yeah, and especially given that the first blood did go to Kulo, puts them in a position where they were looking for a 2v2 with a bit of added strength even. But, I mean, you look at it and it worked out way too well for them. And would you want them in a 2v2? How would the 2v2 actually go with the Janna Vayne?
I don't even know if Absolute's plan was to take a 2v2 when he goes back and buys a Brawler's glove. That's like the least impactful item you could buy with First Blood. I think that they should have been going for the 2v2, but they didn't for some reason, and that's the question I'd like to ask them, is what was their thought process going to do? In my opinion, they should have looked for the 2v2. They should have hunted them down.
Yeah.
But they didn't, and you reap what you sow.
Yeah, just conceded there just a little bit. But we are going to move into our next matchup, Sudden Fear versus the Chiefs. And to do so, let's throw it back out to Pastry Time and Spawn.
Thank you very much, Atlas. And before we get into our next